Genia Litwok, and she will tell you about her experiences in an art school after the Second World War. Genia?
Sure. Good afternoon. I'm Genia Litwok. It's not Gina, okay. I forgive you. If you could pronounce the Chinese name, you can pronounce Genia. Okay, I'm Genia Litwok, and I'm a survivor of the Holocaust. I'm also a witness, which is very important. I was there. In order for you to explain how I got this art diploma for in 1947. If I just tell you that I just skipped from a concentration camp to art, that wouldn't mean anything. However, I have to give you a little bit of a background, how it happened that I got it in 1947. Now, I have to go back to May 5th, 1945, when the gates of Mauthausen, a very, very bad, notorious camp, concentration camp, probably equal to Auschwitz. The gates opened, and somebody screamed, "The Americans are here." This is a copy. I want you to know the original one is very fragile, and it's going to Yad Vashem. I am not using it because it's very fragile. The Americans are here. We were not jumping up because most of us were very, very sick. We were laying on the floor. Women, there were thousands and thousands of men. Women were only about 1,500 women. We just came back from a death march, which I would have to explain some other time because I think the time is short. We were dressed in men's pajamas, shaved, the gates open, and the most beautiful faces of American Rainbow Division, American Army walked in. These young faces of the American soldiers crying, looking at us. They have never seen a sight like that. They walked over and looked down, and they didn't know what to do. They cried, they laughed, they had packages, I guess Red Cross packages. They started throwing it at us to give us something to eat. It was a little bit of a mistake. Since we have been 5 years in a war, no nourishment, the packages consisted of all kinds of food. In between the food was peanut butter. Now, peanut butter, you know how fat that is. And we started eating, and almost immediately everybody got diarrhea. So, the American doctors were called in, and all this stopped, and they started feeding us like little babies. And it was incredible how these young soldiers treated us, I'm talking from the side of women. In the corner of this horrible concentration camp, there were thousands of corpses, and these were all Jewish young men. They were surrounded by electric wires that were killed, I don't know when, because we came in April, and this was May. Slowly, the doctors, American doctors came in, and they started feeding us, cleaning us up, and feeding us like babies, bringing us back to health. Within 2 weeks, Mauthausen was located in Austria. Within 2 weeks, Austria was actually split in 4 zones. It was American, Russian, French, and English. The American army came to us and said, where would you like to go? Which zone? And most of us said we want to go with the American army. The American army went, if you know the map, we went across the Danube. Across the Danube was the most beautiful part of Austria. You will remember the movie Sound of Music. You remember Salzburg? Does everybody saw Sound of Music? And the mountains? That was a part that the American got, which was the most beautiful part. So over there, the American army prepared like projects. The projects were actually places where people worked for it was called the Gering-Werke. Gering, you know the name. And these were people that were working for Gering during the war. They emptied it and they gave it to us to live. So after we got a little better, got well, as much as, better than we were, and we were cleaned up. They called in the American Jewish Committee, the UNRWA, highest, you all know what that stands for, I guess. And UNRWA, the highest, and the
Joint.
the joint. And they came in and they started making lists. You had to register your name because these lists were going all around Europe to find out who is alive, in which camp. This is how you found out if there is any family left. You'll be surprised that you could find out, brothers would find out, the sisters in Germany, in Switzerland, and all kinds of different countries. And it was circulating all over. It was very important to give your name, and you could find families. As a matter of fact, my future husband found his parents living in Siberia. Yes, he did. His sister and his parents. This was the first thing. And then, after they did that, they called in, this is where ORT comes in. ORT, the first thing the ORT did is say, they individually called everybody and they said, what did you do before the war? Now, I was 12 years old. So they said, what did you like to do? What was your goal? I was 12 years old. What did you like to do? And what would you're going, you have no home, you have no parents, you were, as a matter of fact, I have to interrupt here. I tried to go to Palestine. I was only left with a sister, no other relative. From 60 people in my family, I only had a sister, 2 years older. We tried to go to Palestine because we had no one in the United States, no one in Palestine, but we tried. But of course, we went with a truck covered, American Army truck covered, but we were caught in Italy. We tried to go to Cyprus, you might know. And the English stopped us and sent us back to the place where to the DP camp that the American created. The DP camp was named Wintermich. And over there, the ORT started asking us questions. Now, they asked me, what did you do before the war? I went to school. And what did you like to do? The only thing I could think of is I knew how to sew. I mean, what did I solve? I mean, so they said, you know what, you will take a course in millinery. No, I didn't know how to make hats, but I went with a group of other girls, and they tried to teach us how to make hats. Well, okay. I went for 9 months. They tried to take the young men. Not everybody went, but I was very anxious to get something. I didn't accomplish anything. I only had six grades. My education, formal education, was 6 grades since I was 12. In the ghetto, that I was in a large ghetto, there was no school. So that was 6 grades. But I'm very proud. I have some, in the United States, I had some little articles that were published from Brookdale College, so I'm very proud of myself. I don't, I'm okay. I went and registered in Brookdale College, and I had some things published. So it didn't hurt me. But I went through this course, which lasted 9 months, and I got this diploma, and it says that I graduated excellent. Okay. Now, in 1949, I came to the United States, but the 2 years between 47 and 49, I met my husband in Austria, in this DP camp. He was 5 years older, and he worked. We had to be self-sufficient. We created a little police department in this DP camp, all kinds of departments, and we had to be self-sufficient. I became an assistant to a dentist, and in waiting to be, to get a visa to come to the United States, because he had family in the States, and when we got engaged, we got married, that I would go with him to the United States. My sister, who spoke English, she was 2 years older, and she took English as a second language in high school. She worked for the American Air Force immediately in Mouthouse, in Lindemann. So she fell in love with an American, and was, in 1947, she got married to an American pilot, and she got married and she went to Texas. It was very, it's very difficult to understand, but yes, she did. And she wanted me to go to Texas with her, but I was already in love with my husband. So I waited for him to take me to the United States, where he was in New York waiting for his parents to come from Siberia. Now, I'm working now, waiting for him to get his papers. This is 1947. We are waiting, and I'm working as an assistant to a dentist. Also, we are waiting there, 1949. We still have time, right?
Yeah.
Just put it in front.
Okay, we are coming 1949. We have no money. He has $2.50. I have $2.50. We arrive in New York, and he has an aunt who is taking us in. Not a very pleasant person. Her first, I have to tell you that, her first breakfast was for 4 people, 2 slices of bread, cutting. And I said to my husband, I'm not staying here. I think I'm going back to Europe. I think I'm going back, I can't be here. This was May 18th, and Decoration Day was closed. Somebody in the family had a hotel in the mountains, in the mountains near Morristown,
Mount
Mount
Freedom.
Freedom. Mount Freedom, a Jewish hotel. So they suggested that we go there to work, to get some tips, some money. I went, by now I knew a few English words. I went as an assistant counselor to children, and my husband, who was quite intelligent, he was a busboy. So by now, we worked there for Decoration Day weekend, and we stayed until September. And we collected some money. Now we're coming back to New York, and because when they told me that you have to stay near the cashier when the people check out, I started crying, so they would give me a tip. A nice Jewish girl from an upper middle class family. I ran away. So consequently, what happened, the people didn't see me. They would send the tip by mail. And by mail, instead of $2, I got 5. So I gained, and by now we had some money. So we rented a furnished apartment in Manhattan. One furnished apartment, we were allowed to make some coffee, and now I am going with the New York Times with my diploma. I'm going to go and look for a job. I did not, my first job, unfortunately, I couldn't get anything. I didn't even know how to make a hat. Because first of all, 2 years passed by, and I really didn't know how to make it. So I got a job on Pearl Street. Does anyone know New York? That's near Wall Street. I got a job. It was Pearl Street is near Wall Street. It's jewelry district. And this was a factory. They were putting rhinestone sets into boxes. Very bad experience from the newspaper, New York Times. I speak a few words of English, and I go up there, and there is a young foreman, and if I tell you that I was the only one that spoke few words of English, everybody else spoke Spanish. I am the only one. So I'm staying there a week, but we have enough money now to pay for the furnished apartment, furnished room. After 2 weeks, I walk in, and this young foreman says to me, "Open your pocketbook." I said, "Why?" And he says, "Because there is a set missing." And I said, "I don't steal, and I won't open my pocketbook." He says, "Why won't you open up your pocketbook?" I mean, I'm speaking half Yiddish, half German, half English. "I won't open up my pocketbook." I said, "Is this the United States? I was a slave for 5 years. I don't steal." He says, "Well, you open up this pocketbook." I said, "No, I won't." And I'm having this whole thing with him. He's 24 years old. I'm 20, 21, 22. And I am not opening up my pocketbook. And he starts screaming and ranting. And I said, "I won't." I was a slave, enough for Hitler. I don't steal. He says, "You come with me." I said, "Okay." He takes me to the office. In the office is his uncle, the boss, who's 40. Now, he understands already the war. He understands I'm a survivor. I'm only 21 and a half. And he said to his nephew, he says, "You go out." And he tells me, "Sit down." I said, "Okay." I sat down. He says, "What's going on?" I said, "I have been a slave for 5 years for Hitler." I knew he was Jewish. and I am not going to open up my pocketbook. I don't steal. He said, okay, cool off. I said, okay. I have not opened up my pocketbook. He said, what is so terrible? I said, I came to the United States to be free, and I will not open this pocketbook. He said, okay, don't have to open up the pocketbook. I said, furthermore, I quit. He said, how could you quit? You have no money. I said, I have no money, but I have dignity. No matter what Hitler did to us Jews, no matter what he did, he could not take away our dignity. No matter what he did. I am not going to open up the pocketbook, and I quit. Please give me my check. And he did. He gave me the check, but a few dollars, and I walked out. I came home and I told my husband, Ziggy, I quit my job. This is what happened. He said, he walked over to me, he gave me a kiss, he said, good. You're not going to do this. We're not going to be ghetto Jews anymore. No more. Head up high. They're not going to do this to us anymore. So, the next day I take the newspaper and I go and look for a job. This time I see in the corner it says millionaire. I take my diploma and I am in Manhattan. So I go and it says 57th Street, 5th Avenue, 3rd floor. I had no clue that this was a place where they were making hats for society. I had no clue. I didn't know that this was the fanciest place and they were making hats for Mrs. Rockefeller. Or
57th and 5th.
I did buy myself a dress, one black dress. Does anybody remember Mr. John?
Of course.
Yeah.
Black dress. I was 4 inches taller. I was quite pretty. I had a bangle bracelet. I looked all right. I was okay. And I took enough guts and chutzpah, and I'm going to 57th Street on 5th Avenue to the 3rd floor. And I have a continental name. You know, at that time it was Vera, all these single names. And I'm going. And they were very excited when they saw this beautiful diploma coming from 47, from Austria. Oh my God. They really thought they have a designer. Well, I walked in and I introduced myself. I've got the right name, but I don't know how to make a hat. And they don't know that. So they did interview me and they talked to me and they said, okay, come in. I think they realized after 1.5 days that I am not a designer and I don't know how to make a hat. But they were very, very kind because they realized that I just got off the boat almost, and they were very kind. They said to me, we obviously know that you're not a designer and you don't know how to make a hat, but we'll keep you for the week. We'll try to get you a job. And after that, you will have to go and look for another job. That was my experience as a millionaire. Even though I had this wonderful diploma that says millionaire, I couldn't. So I have to tell you, something good came out of it. I go again, and I come home, and there was in the family a jeweler that had a jewelry store. It was October now, before Christmas. So he was kind enough to get me a job on Canal Street. in the jewelry district. So they hired me for before Christmas on Canal Street. I remember 180 Canal Street. It's across the street from Chinatown and across and Grand Street,
Yeah,
which
we know
is
where it is.
Little Italy.
We know where it is.
So they hired me for the time after Christmas. I have no job, but in the meantime, I have a job for 3 months. So they hired me, and I'm again in the back, putting things in boxes. When it came Thanksgiving, there were 2 bosses, young bosses, and they liked me, and they said, "Would you like to have some overtime?" And I said, "Of course. I mean, I don't care if I work overtime Sunday," because it was a wholesale place. And the retailers come to buy on Sundays, so they have the stores. I said, "Sure, I'll work overtime, I'll work Sunday." When I came Sunday, the boss says, "Don't go to the back. You go outside and sell." And I said, "Oh no, I can't sell." They said, "Yes, you can. You know how to read, you know how to write. They know that you come from Europe, you know how to. Then we'll point and you will sell." So I said, "Okay, can I have your permission to use some of the jewelry on my black dress? The black dress that I had, can I have some everyday different jewelry so that they see it?" You know, thinking if they see it on me, maybe they'll buy it. And exactly that's what happened. Every day I wore different jewelry on this black dress. And every time I wore a different pin. So the people that had the stores, they said, "Okay, give me a half a dozen of this. Give me a half a dozen of that." And I fortunately became a very good salesperson. And was the best job that I ever had. I stayed there for 8 years. In between, I had 2 children. And I really did well. I lived in Manhattan, and it was Canal Street. I had to take 2 subways, and every time I became pregnant, I stood between IRT and BMT. I got a little sick, and I had a spot. I'm sure that people thought that I was drinking or something when I didn't show. Anyway, it has a happy ending because my husband changed jobs and did well, and after many, many jobs and many times changing jobs, he became a developer, a builder, right around the corner here, Colesburg at Marlborough. He built that, so things worked out. It all started with the art, with the diploma.
Yeah.
So, I'm almost finished. I just want to tell you one thing. You are very, very lucky people to be born in the United States. God bless America. You can only do this if you are in America. You cannot do this. I lived in different countries, but it can only happen in the United States. So God bless America.
You did. You did a marvelous job. Thank you so much. Very good job. While we're waiting for the lodgers, maybe you would like to sing a little bit. And since she brought up this, why not sing it?
I had to make it short.